Okay, so today I'm supposed to tell you everything that's happened from March 2021 to today. And I'm going to start with actually exactly what happened to me, the experience that I had when I did the spell work in October 2020. Okay, so I had a set of Return to Cinders, and they went out in 3 days. That spell is a 7-day candle. So when it was towards the end of the candle, I had a charge come on my card for $2.16 from St. Philip, and it was declined for wrong expiration date. So I look at my candles and I'm like, okay, this must have to do with the candle. So I went and I got more Return to Cinders and I lit them. And at the end of that, I got a deposit for $216. So I look up what St. Philip was, and what came up was a article from 64 parishes talking about Mary Onita Toups, which I just had a video called Confirmation that stated that Toups is in fact in my bloodline. I had made a comment to African Witch Bitch saying that Onita Toups was in my son's bloodline. She is. The weird thing about my bloodline is that my kids are in there twice. Like, she's related to my son's mother as well. Or not my son's mother, I'm his mother, but his grandmother. She's related to my son's grandmother as well. Like, there's another person I'm going to mention here. She's related to my daughter on her father's side as well. The only person that I can't confirm is Aaron. But that's just because I don't know any of the names other than the name his father has given me. Okay, but after this point is when I said in Poetry, Fairies, and Mary that I was contacted by a bunch of Marys and Maries and Marias and shit, including Marie Laveau, right? So, and in that article, Marie Laveau is heavily mentioned as well. And so, you know, and Mercedes means Maria de la Mercedad, which is Mary of Mercies. Okay. So, that's the first thing. So I wrote it down. This is probably going to be a couple parts because this is very long, but this is an entire year of content. Okay, so on March 19th, 2021, it started like any other day. I was supposed to just take a ride, and I took rides often, but I only came with Aaron's backpack, a few pull-ups, and snacks, right? There has been debate about my parenting skills. Because I take my child out when it rains. Yeah. What you see? No. Oh yeah, those vans. I take my child out in the rain. The thing is, that's how you build their immune system, you know? You would be the, oh no, the park is too scary and dangerous for you. Oh no, the rain is too scary and dangerous for you. You're gonna get sick. Let's keep you at home. You're suppressing that child. Keeping them from connecting to a part of the earth that is just so beautiful, majestic, and a part of probably one of the most important things that we get in the environment. Everything needs the rain. Hey, come on. I had just written something on slavery. It had a list of names that were confirmed that day. But then I got a message on the kiosk. It said, "Don't push your luck, buckle up and drive sober." Every day for nearly a year, the kiosk only read about accidents or mask up. So I knew something was up. I look over and there's a license plate from New York. So I immediately head for New York. No clothes, nothing. Just the first thing I came across was a car that had a license plate that seemed to have a code. Give me just a moment. That car was FLD 8422. That's either Fold 88 or Field 88. When I finally put that code in is when I found the documents of the plantations with the same names I had just wrote about. Now this document is gone. I don't know where it is. Like, it didn't get saved. It got destroyed. But it was talking about apartheid in Brandywine, Maryland. Okay. So I then come across a vehicle that donned some of those same names, and it quickly exited the highway. I am in Pennsylvania, Delaware, Southeast, 1314, SMH 109. Yes. Stop. Okay, hold on just a moment. DESW 1314, SMH 109, PA HC 0195, PA 462, Brandywine, Green Inc., regulated medical waste and chemotherapeutic waste, Brandywine, Green Inc., ZRZ 4954, ZRZ 4954. So today I just decided to go to New York. I don't know why. When I put in the address that I wanted to go to, I got that I would arrive at 11:11 p.m. I am following behind a van that says regulated medical waste and chemotherapeutic waste, Brandywine Green Inc. I see a park too, but it's raining. We can't go to the park today. Yeah. I wish someone could tell me what these numbers mean. Woo! Woo! What? He just rushed and got off at an exit. Yeah. Yep.
Hey, you just stop, Mom.
Where am I? Factory tours, Harley Davidson. Oh, remember, names change over time. I said Davis. Upon my arrival to in New York, I get an odd message on IG, and the name of the user means "you have chosen wisely." I visit my friend in Buffalo for a couple days. We went shopping to get us some clothes, and upon my arrival, oh wait, you know, fuck, when you fucking copy and paste. You know, so I share with my friend the knowledge that I had learned. Aaron and he had connected in an amazing way. This guy always referred to himself as a pirate. And he never said it out loud, but Aaron began to call him Santiago. He's like, who's that? I'm like, a pirate. And he's like kind of freaked out. But then he shows me his phone and his screensaver says Diego Santiago. So I said, everything I'm saying to you must be true because Aaron can't read, right? I leave. On my way out, I am apparently speeding, which is rare, and am pulled over as I pass by a cemetery. I'm told I have improper registration plates, and I tried to explain to the officer that due to C-19 and due to a court order, I had not been able to obtain plates. I offered him the court order showing that I had been ordered to stay in Maryland, even though I was a resident of Ohio. And I also tried to remind him that the state of Ohio and the state of Maryland had extensions for registration until June 22nd, and I hadn't actually broken any laws. I give him a bag of weed with less than a joint worth. I beg him to let me go as I'm not a resident. Didn't realize I was speeding, but am not a regular speeder. I simply missed the first posted sign that changed the speed limit. And my situation with the registration would be handled as soon as I got back to Ohio as I was moving at the end of the week. He tells me that he can't let me go, that C-19 is over, and that I can't do what I want. He takes me back to the precinct to do a sobriety test. He says that I failed the sobriety test, but due to Aaron's demeanor, my ability to provide healthy snacks, he doesn't take me to be a bad parent, but he really could have locked me up and took Aaron for this. But he's going to let me go, drop me off at a hotel down the street. I responded, oh, so you can let me go and you can do what you want. Oh, okay. Aaron was amazing. Aaron, officer, do you have a charger for my iPad? I need a charger. You know, he's just being himself and very polite. So when we're in his car, his face is smug. He seems really proud of stranding me in this city that had no cab or Uber service. And Aaron begins to panic. He's like, Mom, what are we going to do? We have no car. And I say to him, Aaron, we are not attached to anything in this world. Our taxes will come soon and we'll just simply get another car. I mean, like, that's literally what I said. And the entire demeanor of this officer changed. His name was Officer Reagan, by the way. As he gets my things out of the trunk, he says to me, good luck on your journey, and drives off. I'm forced to get a room at this hotel. I try to call my friend to see if he could pick me up, to no avail. I try to get an Uber, no avail. The only way that I can get out is to order a taxi from the airport, and they are only willing to pick me up if I'm going to the airport. This shit cost me $120 fucking dollars. Okay, so I get to the airport. I have money, but it's all in separate places. I had like 3 credit cards, 2 bank accounts that had money in it. Okay. One bank account had enough money to get the rental, but the problem was that, you know, rentals, you can't take debit. You have to have a credit card. And none of my credit cards even had the limit as to what I needed. Like, even if I combined all of them, she wouldn't let me combine all of them or anything like that. So, you know, after some deliberation, the cashier lets me use debit. And I humbly apologize to this woman because she likely lost her job for this, for the events that transpired afterwards. I get back to the hotel and I decide that there has to be a reason I'm here. Well, I type in slavery in Warsaw and I find that a woman named Marie Sadie Jones was buried in the very cemetery I was pulled over in front of, 2 blocks away from this hotel I was left in. Mary Sadie had ran away from the Charles County area, which is where Brandywine is, with a 7-year-old girl whose name meant joy, and gave birth to a little boy shortly after arriving, but had died from tuberculosis a few months later. She left her children to Joshua Darling. always told me that in a past life his name was Joshua. Like when we met, and he had like he was like really fixated on Natanya, really fixated on Aaron when he found out I was pregnant. And it was like interesting because when I saw this, I was like, wow. So if you remember, the DNA list shows my ancestry does include Jones, and my daughter's last name is Jones. I went to the site, and in the middle of this cemetery was a tombstone that said Christ. You know, I swear, I broke down into tears. I don't know exactly what was happening, but I had reported this to African Witch Bitch and Elemental Wisdom because I had like a whole bunch of flashes of lifetimes. Like I could see myself going down that street in a fucking wagon. Being stopped and having that wagon searched, but they didn't find me. So I ended up researching the city to find that it was filled with Browns, Jones, and Christ. Now, when I was waiting for the cab, I came across a woman that was interesting, but she made me unsettled. So I spent about an hour cleaning up and loading up the car, getting Aaron fed, and I left at like 8 or 9 p.m. The car had great specs, so I blasted Drake. It was the first time I ever heard Wants and Needs, and also when I realized the meaning behind Money in the Grave, because shortly after the death of Mary Sadie, a donation was made by a church in her honor, and it was actually on April 22nd, which is my birthday, for the Underground Railroad and considered stock. How can you have stock in something that isn't a business? Y'all can't tell, but I'm shaking. I don't know why. So I drive all night, about 15 minutes out from the house, and I see a sign that says St. Mary's City Scenic Route. Bro, I drive past there every day. I never noticed it before, so I go. And on the way there, I'm listening to Jesus. And he said something. I looked over, and there's a sign that says, Welcome to Eden. What? Yeah. So I arrive, and it's a living museum and trail. I approach a sign, and Aaron and I hear a sonic boom. I know that he heard it because he looks up. He's like, what was that? You know, but we saw nothing, no planes, nothing. The sign was about Willie Lynch. I had a dream that I mentioned to African Witch Bitch and Elemental Wisdom about a tree and a house full of people, including famous people. Cat Williams really stuck out. So this house was so full that it was falling apart. And when I look out the window, this tree stands to be about 500 years old, right? So when I get to the focal point of the trail, there stands this tree. I asked someone nearby what kind of trees these are, right? And she tells me redwood. What? Immediately, I'm like, how? Because redwood trees don't grow here naturally. That is a West Coast tree. That is a Asian tree. Like, my original connection with ancestors is through nature, animals, and plant life. So, you know, I'm immediately triggered that something is off. And why are these trees here? Anyway, the important takeaway from this is that there was a signage stating that an unnamed slave was brought there. She wasn't unnamed. Her name was Mary. And when I tell these women this, they gasp as if they know, and I shouldn't. And one was really cruel in her demeanor. Her name was Marcelena. It sat with me because in Adventure Time, there was a vampire by the name of Marceline. This woman was heavily Catholic. All her sons were named John Paul. And for some reason, they always like question Aaron's name, like the Prince of Egypt. Like, what? Why do they say that? Anyway, I get home. I'm supposed to move And the mover tells me he supplies boxes and helps pack, but he actually changed his tune when he got there. So this very day, I also got a letter stating I will not be receiving my Social Security. I leave near 11 p.m. at night. And I stop at a rest stop. It's pitch black. But when I wake up in the morning, I realize there's 2 mountains and a valley. And absolutely the most beautiful view. I don't know why that is important, but it was beautiful. So I also stop in this city that it seems like they've never seen black people, and they treated Jeremiah or Aaron like a messiah, bro. They were buying him gifts and asking to talk to him and shit. And this lady bought him a bunny and said Happy Easter. And I hear them at their table like, they probably don't even know who Jesus is. Like, we do. But it's okay, cool. So, anyway, I get to Columbus. I have to stay in a hotel for about a week, maybe even 2 weeks. And during this time, I can see that I'm being watched by police because I had effectively and accidentally stolen this rental car. Because I was supposed to pay on Wednesday. I did not return the car because I had no other way to get home, get to Columbus. I thought I was going to have more money and I was just going to keep paying for the car, but the money didn't come. So I end up in a shelter that I had been to for now the 3rd time. I have already spoken on that briefly. One day I realized the place is called St. Mary's, Columbus, Ohio. And I also find a trail behind it that is considered the Underground Railroad. So what I found out also is that every day I was riding this route in Maryland. I was just drawn to it. Sometimes it would lead me back to the man of the hour. Sometimes I would go the opposite way. But there were 2 things that were important about the route, especially the route when I would travel from Maryland to Ohio and back. I was traveling 2 different routes. I was traveling the Underground Railroad the whole time and didn't know it. And then I was also traveling the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, adjacent to it. Where it ends is where I met the man of the hour. Or where it begins, one of the 2. But those 2 things are very interesting, right? So, during this time, I speak with a security guard there, and I am urged to watch Encounters of the Fifth Kind by Dr. Stephen Greer. I watch the documentary, I go outside and do the meditation he suggested, and I open my eyes, and there in broad daylight is a fucking UFO. Then it disappeared, and I said, wait, no, come back. And it came back real quick and disappeared again. I'm amped, bro. So I go to pick up Aaron from daycare. And the lady tells me, the daycare lady, who I couldn't stand, she was very judgmental. She was friendly and whatnot, but she always tried to talk to me like I didn't know my son and shit. Bitch, shut up. Sorry. But she said, when I first started leaving my child with his dad, I didn't agree with his form of discipline. And I knew immediately something was up. What do you mean? I think she was trying to say that my son did not experience an abusive event. And I had more indication that something was wrong because as we're walking back to the shelter, Aaron starts saying he wants to see his dad. His dad is a very nice guy. We hadn't seen his dad in over a year at this point, but this is the week that our restraining order was about to expire. So as I'm walking up to the shelter, a man on a bike stops me and asks why they can't tell him who is in the shelter. And he's looking for a friend. I told him it's a privacy violation, and I continue to go into the shelter. And the employee has this weird look on her face and asks me what he said to me. I'm like, he said he was looking for a friend and asked why they can't tell him. And I went back about my business, but I hear a voice. He was looking for you. She is confused. Look at her face. She's confused because he asked for you and walked right past you because he's a stranger. He doesn't know you, but he asked for you. That's why she's confused. Now, when Aaron's dad and I met, one time I didn't answer his phone calls, and I get home to someone had left a note on my door telling me to call him. So I know that he has the ability to do stuff like that, to like send people to me. So, you know, the next day I buy my car with my tax money, because my tax money come in. And on May 21st, the day before our restraining order against Aaron's father ends, his friend is blowing my phone up, text, calls, asking me to come over and to get over the past to come and visit him. And he offers me a ride. After I got rid of the rental car, I had been walking and bussing. The offer for a ride let me know that they knew. I answered a call and could hear Aaron's dad in the background. I was driving and I had a vision of him pulling up and shooting me in front of the shelter. So I did not go back to the shelter. And I'm gonna tell you something. About a week later, I heard a reading from Kairos Crystal Visions talking about someone getting shot in front of their home on that day. That very day I had the vision. I didn't see it for a week, but I had that, I saw it. So I didn't go back to the shelter. I stayed in hotels for 2 weeks around Columbus on sides of towns I wouldn't commonly be on, and then headed to Cleveland. But I did stop back at the shelter real quick, grab my shit, and go. So when I got back from Cleveland, I still didn't feel safe, so I decided to go to South Carolina. We're gonna stop here.